Hey guys, welcome to this podcast today. I'm excited to be recording. You're here on Tech to Cash. Here's a spot where we really talk a lot about technology, monetization, search engine optimization, different ways that you try to, use these different electronic and tech side hustles to try and get some extra income, or maybe you even have an interest or are actually already living off of some revenue that you've got coming in from either talking about your skills or, anything from YouTube, vlogging, blogging, web design, digital marketing, you name it. Maybe you work for yourself, maybe you work for a company, maybe you have a product, maybe you're in a certain niche. But here we're going to talk about all those things. And today, I really wanted to start out just talking about something that was on my mind, really, because I was thinking about how it used to be. I don't know how many years ago. Let's say, I don't know, if I had to give it a number, I'd say maybe like a year. I'd say maybe around 2007, 2008-ish. I'm thinking that's about the time, yeah, because I think I was in grad school around that time. And that's when the stock market crashed, was right around that time. So I can't remember really if it was before the stock market crash. I think that happened in 2008, right? We've had multiple stock market crashes, honestly, but I think that one happened in 2008. And then there was, you know, a lot going on before that. I'm trying to think of kind of how it was. Like, I remember back in the day, like building a fan base, getting, content viewed, or, having any form of an audience wasn't that difficult. Um, I don't think Google had bought out YouTube even at that point. But I do remember I had a blog through Blogger. I didn't even have a domain name, just the Blogspot name. I think I also had Google. Was it called Google Plus? Where it was kind of like a profile through Google that was almost like social media, but you didn't really do anything on it. And then I would use that with Facebook. I had a Facebook. It was I called it like a media channel. I don't remember the exact name, but something media. And I remember I used to basically just post stuff on my blog. A lot of it was not so much about spirituality, but I was really into church and involved in church. And so I would post things that were kind of like, topics about community living and like social justice and, a lot of like humanity related sort of positive topics. And I would just put out a blog post and just kind of type type out stuff. I don't think I used any SEO. And then I'd maybe record like a YouTube video and link it in there. I would put in like hyperlinks, and I would post those back to my Google Plus channel, and through my Google Plus channel, I would post everything onto my Facebook media channel. And I got some subscribers, and I can't remember how many people. Honestly, this is like over a decade ago. Okay, it was a long time back, but I was just thinking about that today because I was like, wow, I wasn't even into really monetizing things back then, but it was easier to build a fan base, and so I remember doing that, and then you know I remember thinking of kind of like trends that I recognized where I was like, okay, I would put a blog post, you know, I would type out a draft and I would put in a picture, for example, of whatever the topic was. I remember I wrote one about like volunteering in the community or something around that topic, and then or helping the homeless or something. I don't remember what it was, but there was an image that I, you know, pasted into the draft, and I linked that image back to that site, and I think it was a Latina based company called Helping Hands or something like that. It was something that was like a popular like nonprofit organization that I didn't even know about. And for some reason that post got so many views and so many like you know, it got views because I think because I linked it to something that was already popular that people had already been searching, and that was kind of how like my mind clicked, where I was like, oh, okay. And I think my blog back then was called I Sense I Perceive .blogspot.com, and I think it's still up. I don't know if those older posts show, because I think sometimes, you know, like when it's been that long, things just, you have to actually search for them. Like it doesn't just archive easily. But I remember doing that, and I remember just kind of paying attention to like, okay, what gets me more views? What do people actually pay attention to? What are people actually interested in looking at and viewing, and what are they reading? Or, you know, I didn't really get a whole lot of engagement until I started talking to people from church and like telling them about it, because I think I told a friend at church, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll send you one of my posts because I've been like blogging lately. And then she read it and she was like, yeah, that's like really good. And then I think she said it in front of one of my pastor friends, and he's like, oh, send it to me. And so I sent it to him, and he was like, yeah, it's really good stuff, you know. And I was like, okay. But I mean, like, it's kind of like, you know how they say like preaching to the choir? It's like, okay, like we kind of had like similar views at that point in time, and so it was kind of like, yeah, I'm telling you what you already know and what you kind of want to hear, but it resonated with them. So that was another thing that I noticed. I was like, okay, so some things kind of resonate with certain people, and then they want to share it with other people, and that will get them kind of like in the door, you know. But then I switched altogether from talking about things like self-development and things like that. I started talking a lot more about tech. And when it comes to things like repairs, like basically, I would basically just post little reviews about stuff that I already liked, that I already was interested in, that I was already kind of like dabbling in, or you know, starting to have an interest in. And I, you know, I would just post about it. And you know, the blog kind of changed. Like this was all in the same blog, so it kind of changed from going from talking about like self-development and like, you know, community living and like social justice to like computers and iPhones and, you know, that kind of thing. And so like, you know, I kind of posted that stuff up there too. And I noticed things did change a little bit. I noticed when it, and with all that, like the time was still changing. So it was like a few years later when I started doing something else like that. And I noticed, some things were getting a little more views based on video content. And so, you know, there's only so much you can explain in a blog, or there's only so much people, so much content that people really might want to read. So that's something that I noticed was like, okay, like people might not really want to read all this, especially if it's like about a gaming laptop and I'm reviewing a gaming laptop. people want to see it. They want to look at it. They want to see you using it. They want to watch what you do and envision themselves with that product and like, okay, like, yeah, the backlights, like I could see myself playing like Call of Duty in the dark, like chilling at my desk with the backlit keyboard and like this fancy, gaming mouse and or trackpad or whatever, and like I could see myself totally geeking out and like using this certain software and like producing music on this software and making songs and posting them on SoundCloud, or people want to kind of envision themselves doing something. So that's where I kind of noticed like, okay, like some things on a blog don't work, but when I would post it on YouTube I would get like a lot of views, which for me, it wasn't a lot. Like I know a lot of YouTubers who have like thousands, like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, hundreds of thousands of views. There were no K's or M's next to my views. But they were in the hundreds ranges, which was good considering I wasn't doing a thing, but just like documenting either by writing down like journal style or just kind of like casual review. It wasn't even a review like to say what's good or bad too much. It was just kind of like, here's this item that I bought, check it out, it's nice, it's I like it. And I would basically just talk it up about the things I liked. From that point I went on to talking about still a lot of tech stuff, but I was kind of working on a lot of stuff. Like I think after grad school, I started getting really into like music production with my guitars and keyboard and MIDI. Like I would use like MIDI connection for like this. I used to use it was Propellerhead software. I think their Reason, it was like Reason and Record. So I got Record because of guitar, and then Reason I already had because I was really always into electronic music ever since I was pretty young. Born in '83, so I did kind of in a way grow up with the stuff, but I really was into it. And so, I was like, I always kind of had it in the back of my mind. I'd always been like recording little riffs and stuff on guitar on like, those old like cassette deck, like recorders that were kind of shaped almost like a VHS tape. Like they were kind of like that size, and you would just like put the tape in and hit record. And like I still have like cassette tapes with like God only knows how much, like how many little songs I'd written and whatnot. So I had all these little tunes and all these little songs, and but I'd never actually been able to kind of do more like actual like putting this stuff like into like digital and like being able to edit it and making like almost like a full band just with myself, making like actual legit songs with multiple tracks and everything. So, I'm quite computer savvy. And then after grad school, when I was applying for jobs and applying for a doctorate program, I basically, and other than studying and working, I basically, I worked not even full time. And so I could study mostly, and then I'd spend a lot of time also like learning these softwares, and like that would be my free time because I also didn't have a lot of money because I wasn't working a lot. So I would just record stuff that way and post it up, and it was cool, guys. Like I really had a good time doing it. I was like, yes, this is what I wanted to do. I've been thinking about this for like ever since I was like a kid, that I wanted to like, because the difference with recording music versus like playing like a full one track song all the way through is like, if you don't really fully learn the song and you don't really know, like if you don't have an ability to go back or like edit the tape, or if you don't like literally, I remember there was a time when I used to like cut the cassette tape, the little tape in there, the little ribbon, and like tape it back together when there was like, oh, I don't want that piece in there. It wasn't for music so much, but I would do it for like little things where I was like, I don't want that in there. And like, or I would record like blank over it and then snip out that blank little section and like I mean, guys, that's the extent I had to go to edit something back then, right? So that is like, you can just imagine how tedious, but I have quite a bit of patience too when I think of it. And I was able to spend a lot of time by myself, a lot of energy doing these things. And like, it wasn't a burden because it was just a hobby. And it was just like, I'm just going to hit record and start playing or start recording, or I'm just going to open up my blog and start typing, like make some drafts. And like, I would just have drafts and drafts and drafts like sitting there. Same with music, same with writings. I would always kind of have like pieces of content that was just like ideas, brainstorms, things that I hadn't really completely finished, right? But yeah, like, so yeah, I do remember recording music. I'll get back to what I was talking about with all the brainstorming stuff, but I do remember recording music and, posting some like using tutorials that other people had made and then making maybe my own tutorial or making my own, it wasn't really tutorials, but maybe like a bit of a like, this is how I created this song on this software. If you want to do the same, you could follow my steps. And I would just walk through, okay, this was how I put in the drum track, and I used like a combinator, and I did this and that. Even talking about it now, I'm like, if I open that software, I don't think I could do it. I haven't done that in years. So I don't know if I could just do it on the spot right now, but I was good at it, good enough back then that I could actually make something come out of it. But it was like rough cuts of stuff. But yeah, I mean, the thing I liked about it though, versus recording one track on a cassette tape, was that, I didn't have to learn a whole song. I could learn like, I could learn how to use like the drum machine and the software without having to buy a drum kit and learn how to play drums. I could edit it in there without even being able to like keep an actual beat. I could actually just program it in, or write it into the software. There's like a little pencil and a little line where you would just write it into what part of the track you would want it to be at, and you had so much more ability to edit things and customize things. And it was a lot, guys. Like, even when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, man, like I don't even use my brain like that anymore, hardly half the time. But I was really kind of into just like thinking and learning, and like I would spend a lot of energy doing that. On my free time when I wasn't out with my friends, I'd be like in my room, like doing some creative sort of project. And yeah, I would watch movies, videos, stuff, TV. Like back then, I'd watch sports, play sports and stuff. But that's kind of what I did, right? And then from the music related things, I got more interested in like SoundCloud. What else? I don't remember if I posted too much from there, but I do remember having that Facebook media account linked with my SoundCloud account. And then I would still post on Blogger. I would still post, let me see. After that, I started making not really musical things. It was more like when I would have like, so after my gaming laptop got a little old, and when I started getting into Raspberry Pi as well, and like Arduino and those sort of like small computer chip type processors, I used to basically go in and record. Like, I think I did have a camera. It wasn't a really super good one. It was one of those kind of point and shoot, and you could record like digital video. It had like an SD card. What was it? It wasn't a Vivitar. It was something else. But I remember recording kind of like when my laptop would break, and then I learned how to fix stuff because, again, I still didn't have a lot of money to be paying people to do things repair wise for me when the warranties wore out, and I couldn't afford a new $1,500 laptop or whatever. So there was that. So basically, yeah, I just kind of remember I was recording reviews of products based on what would break, and I was also recording like tutorials of like how to repair things, and even like stuff that I would find with like Windows. It was like a complication or something with like some software I was trying out. Like say if I wanted to use a screenshot software, for example, to make like screen recording videos on my PC, and then I would be like, hey, this is something I had trouble finding a video on. Let me record a video on, learning how to use this software, or like I would notice like when I was searching for something I wanted, I would notice that, you know, I couldn't really search for what I wanted because, well, I could search for it, but it wasn't, yielding the results I wanted. I wasn't getting back the information I was looking for, right? So, that was something that I really noticed after a while, was like, wow, like I can really, you know, like because I was so absorbed in these different like pockets of niches and topics, like I would just spend like, weeks and months, like probably even a couple years for each one, like learning these things until I just gradually shifted into another kind of genre or niche of interests. And it just, I have a lot of interests, and I really was like, you know like delving into them, and just using my brain. And even usually, because like I had limited finances, because even when I was in school, like, when you're a grad student, you don't have any money. You don't really have any time or energy either. But it's like, I would find ways to like find like freeware. Like I remember like when outsource not outsource source was it called SourceForge? I think there was a website, SourceForge, where you could get um open source, not outsourced, open sourced software. So I remember like finding the open source software versions of things that I was interested in. Like I remember really liking 3D modeling, software, and like that type of thing, like music production software, like web design software, basic like word processing software. I would find like the free versions of those, and then it was open source. And before that, I was like downloading like like pirated stuff, and what happens with that. Like I was up on LimeWire at a certain point and all this other stuff, and like, viruses and whatnot. So I was like, well, at least, I'm getting software that's actually like legit, like, and it was functional and good, and it worked good enough. So basically, I learned how to do all these things with limited finances just because I had time on my hands, and energy. It was more energy than time, honestly. But I would put my energy into these things, and it wasn't a burden again. Like I wasn't even. I was more interested in looking at what the trends were, doing my own like hobbies, producing my own things, and just seeing the result of like, hey, who's tuning into this and who doesn't care, who's engaging with this and who's not. And I'd say even to this day, there's some old laptop repair. Well, not to this day. I'd say in the last like year or two, it kind of stopped, and it's probably because the gaming laptop I was using was obsolete by that time. It was the Asus G73, Republic of Gamers. Oh, that thing was sweet. It was like a beast. It was like a massive spaceship. The thing was huge. Sounded like a freaking hovercraft, but it was a beast, man. Like that thing, like I played everything and anything on that system. I burned out the graphics card, put in a new one, and then, eventually the CPU went out, and I was still able to sell it for like quite a few $100s, probably close to $600 or so. I think I sold it for parts, and I went through two or three motherboards. So, But even things like that, it's like when I would see things like that coming up, I would make a video about it. I'd be like, this is this old laptop and I just replaced the motherboard, and I would like document like myself doing that. Or even in retrospect, I would if I couldn't like replicate the whole thing, if I didn't want to do it in real time, I would just explain it in steps or take pictures along the way and make like a slideshow with like the pictures and like do a voiceover over the slideshow parts, and then put the video parts in that like intertwined within there that were like explaining how it worked now, and like different stuff like that. I would really edit my videos and stuff like my YouTube channel was Beefily, which is just a screen name I've always kind of used since I was in high school, so I'm just keeping with it. But yeah, guys, I say all that just to, that's kind of like the history I came from before I ever started trying to really look into monetizing anything, before I even started trying to look into, how any money could ever be made. And I think the first dollars I actually made, were from, I'm trying to be as accurate as possible. I want to say it was from arbitrage, either like drop shipping or arbitrage, one of those two. And this was back when PayPal would actually give you all the money. Like, say if I was selling 4 products and somebody bought those 4 products, and PayPal would actually like give you all the money and you could cash it all out, or the majority of the money you could cash out. So like I was actually able to do arbitrage, like retail arbitrage, post an item, have someone pay for it, go to the store and buy it cheaper, and then sell it, for a profit. I was able to actually do that because the money was, it was all being generated from the site and put back into the sales. And, say if I sell 4 items, I would use that, extra money. Say if I got $10 extra per item, that's $40. So I'd have $40 to go out and actually purchase things to sell, that I could sell faster or whatever. And then I remember starting to use like those sites that are based with products in China. The thing I didn't like about that when it came to like, because I was doing a combo of like arbitrage and drop shipping. The thing I didn't like about it was the time, the wait, because sometimes it's like there's no appeal to something if you're gonna have to wait 20 something, 30 something, like 21 to 35 or whatever days for something to ship. And and then PayPal started like not giving you the full money or holding your funds, and that would slow down things. It's like, man, if I can't like create an earning schedule, it kind of made it hard because I couldn't create an earning schedule because I was always in this like PayPal battle of like my money's on hold and I can't buy the products and I have buyers, and then it's like I can't ask somebody, hey, can you wait for like a month and then I'll sell you this thing. It's like, so it got so complex. But it was fun while it lasted. But that's the thing though, right? I'm saying all this to just explain, like, even with my own process of changing my hobbies and interests and developing my own hobbies and interests, and then the other process of everything online changing. You have the tech side of things, you have the money side of things, you have the just everything's flowing together. And I think it was in like after grad school, after everything, I kind of hit like a wall in a way, where it was like I wasn't learning at the speed that things were changing. And so there was a lull there where it was like, okay, I'm not really making profit, and I'm not really learning that fast because I'm not really, I was out like partying and hanging out, and like I'd spend my energy doing other stuff. And I noticed when I stopped focusing on these other things, and I didn't have an earning schedule, and I didn't have a schedule to learning, and I'd basically just work, and then on my free time go out, and I didn't really have a lot of I wasn't really developing, all the tech side of things anymore. And it eventually got to a place where it was like, I remember, it was near like when Windows 10 came out, I think. And I remember like the first time I saw Windows 10 and I was like, oh shoot, like I feel so behind because like I know this has been out for a while and I haven't even used it and I don't even know how to use it. And I felt so weird. I was like, that's the first time it ever happened that I opened up a PC and I was like, ooh, like I don't really know how to use this. Because I think I was trying to like buy a new laptop or something at like either like Best Buy or Fry's, or I was just going there playing around with their stuff and I saw it out and I was just like, dude, I don't know how to use this. But like, I could still click around and like figure it out. It was familiar enough, but it wasn't like, I actually had to think about it. It wasn't like so automatic, like click, 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 and I was just in everything I needed. So I was like, oh man, like how do I like search or what like web browser and like all like it was like, like, so that was weird. And also the reason why is because I hadn't had a laptop for a long time. Because I didn't need one. Because at work, I was just working on the desktops. And I think they used like Windows 7. And then, I didn't really need one at home because I wasn't doing all these like hobbies. So I had like an old laptop with like Windows, God forbid, like Vista or something. Or XP or something like that. It was like some old Windows OS, and I would use that if I needed to like type something, if I needed to type something, if I actually needed a desktop. It was like an old laptop that I had just in case I needed something. And then I remember getting into I was like, well, let me get back into the hustle, because I kind of liked the money side of things. I was like, this is cool, I can actually make money, but I was like, I don't have the time or the energy or the patience to catch up with the with the times around me, and learn all the new like ins and outs of Google and all these like algorithm related things. I was like, dude, it's the game is too far along for me to catch up, and I want to start making money now. So that's when I started going to like Craigslist, OfferUp, Mercari, some other kind of Amazon, not so much. Amazon, I stopped using Amazon ages ago because I like to sell used things. And I started using things like the liquidation, I think liquidation.com, shopgoodwill.com, like some online thrift stores, places where you get really good prices for stuff. But I really got into selling like used things, used electronics. And I had a certain niche with that, was selling used electronics as is, not working, just they turn on, but otherwise there's no other expected functionality. And they had the battery, even if it wouldn't work, and they had the charging cable, the power cord or whatever, even if that, didn't work, but it had all the parts, and it was basically just broken. Like not broken like the screen, but usually like software related things. Needed to, it needed some changes with the software. So that was kind of like when I look at, when you're looking at tech and you're looking at finances, or you're looking at tech and you're looking at money and you're looking at making money from tech, I would really just advise people with all this whole over 30-minute thing that I've just been talking about. I would really just advise people, go and look at those blasts from your past. Look at what used to work. When you start getting in a bind, look at what used to work. And sometimes, you might have to go, a little rogue, you might have to go, just, pave, feet to the pavement and get off the internet and get on OfferUp or Craigslist and start hustling, like driving around and making those sales, I found that electronics sell really well on OfferUp, especially if they're with the original boxing, with the charging cable, good condition, and you're able to deliver right away. Somebody's gonna buy it, and if you say like you're gonna let them test it on the spot, and then maybe sign a bill of sale, sale. Sorry. But yeah, you do something like that, and you're usually, gonna be okay. Like that'll get you at least a little bit of the money you need. But the thing is, really, is finding the trends in things. Like Google Trends might not be the easiest thing. Sometimes when you look on YouTube and you want just like, you start searching and searching and searching things, and what you're really going to come across are people regurgitating the same information that, you know, it's just people regurgitating the same information, saying, the same thing. So they'll say, okay, like, look at this area to make money, but everybody's saying that, but they're not. You notice, like, after you watch the video or listen to what they have to say, they're just trying to sell their course to you, and they're not giving you any valuable content that you can come away after that hour of watching or listening to them, and then actually applying something that they mentioned to your, strategy, and actually coming out with dollars or potential buyers within the day or two. For me, I really like to get things rolling quick. So sometimes it's like, say if you have an idea and it's a cool idea and you're like, I want to, sell, I don't know what, something you found that was cool, like I don't know, maybe you live in a place where, marijuana is legal and you want to sell like some product related to that, like an old school stash box or something, like, I don't know, whatever it is you want to sell. And, do you really want to, spend the money and the time and the effort to make a website and, make a YouTube channel, make a Facebook channel, make an Instagram channel, make a Pinterest, I mean, yeah, in the meantime, do those things. But I would say if you have the product you're trying to sell, go sell it, post it where it's going to get the most views as quickly as possible, sell it as fast as possible, get the money, and then, the motivation is going to come with, and then you can still keep slowly or even quickly, but in the background, while you're making that additional revenue and putting it back into your small hustle here, you're gonna basically take that money that's just generating by selling things, selling those stash boxes. Maybe you buy them at Venice Beach, and you got a guy who sells them for you real cheap, but they're really beautiful and they sell for a lot of money. And so, just sell them, like go sell them without the website, go sell them, just drive to the person who's going to buy it in front of that Starbucks, go sell them, go sell it as quickly as possible. You don't have to wait. Go to the swap meet, the local swap meet, get a little table out, post up for like 4 or 5 hours. You can sit there. You can sit there and, maybe you're not fully engaging with the customers, which I think would be ideal if you're selling face to face, but you might have a computer with you or your iPhone or smartphone with you, and you can get online and you can work on that blog and work on that website and work on that, Shopify page, and, bring some business cards with you, put that website address on there, tell people to share it with their friends, talk to them a little bit. It's my new little company, make some FaceTime, real FaceTime, not like on your phone FaceTime. Right now during COVID, it's not going to be easy to do any of that kind of stuff, but you do have online sales to your advantage. And sometimes I think really, really, in all honesty, what gets in the way is the learning over the doing, spending the energy with the learning, spending so much time watching hours of videos and listening to hours of information, but it feels like you're doing something, but you're really not doing something. And I'm not like pointing fingers. I've done that for years. It's like I feel like I'm doing something, but when I look at my pocket, it's like, dude, it's been a week and I've been working on this and I've spent more money than I've made. you know if you start having to pay for it's just being patient, the patience that it comes with. But sometimes you can't be patient and you just need to sell something so that you can get that motivation. And the more sales you make, sometimes too, you can actually have that money to put into the Shopify store, have that money to hire that person or that company to help you, better your brand, or to brand your product, or to, market your things, and then you start making more money faster. But in the process of selling things, you can market yourself still, if you have the basics set up. So sometimes you can do the other side of things starting from instead of starting from you know, getting all the website up and all the, monetize, to monetize a YouTube channel, you have to have followers nowadays. It's not like before how you could just like post up whatever you want and just like click monetize and then start making money off of ads and stuff. Like now it's a lot harder. It's harder to get views now. I had some sites that I put up that, like, back in the day, I'm certain they would have gotten multiple views right when I had posted, and I'm not even ranking. So you need to do what you got to do to get the sales, but you also want to rank, right? And I really recommend doing a combined process at the beginning. Give it like 1 or 2 weeks and tell yourself, I want to make 2 sales a week. For these 2 weeks, that's 4 things that you sold. And even if it's by foot, if you're going out selling it with your either business card or QR code or something that people use nowadays, to link back to your site, like, hey, check out my site, hey, check out my social media, add me on Insta, like, interact with people. You want to create a community, and you're not just trying to sell something to somebody, a product. It can also help to create, community of people that are passionate about whatever it is you're selling. If I'm selling a stash box and I know a lot about stash boxes and I know a lot about buying them at Venice Beach and the people who make them and sell them, I might want to talk to those people more. I might want to learn about them. I might want to learn, how they learned how to make those things and what is it, that, if they're into marijuana products or whatever it may be, what kind of reason do they have that they're into it. And like, because you have to think about the people who are making these things might also be the people who are whoever's making the product might be the person who also consumes or is a consumer of that product, right? So someone who makes a stash box might know what's best about a stash box if they actually are someone who partakes of marijuana. They might know, okay, this is how I want to line the stash box with this velvety cloth, or this is how I want it to look on the outside. I want it to fit in the hand this way. And they're thinking these things through because they use these products. And, it's going to be at a disadvantage to your brand or to your sales if you don't understand the consumer's perspective of what it is that they're looking for. Your buyers, your audience, or your buyers, or the combination of the two. I mean, they can be both. You can have an audience that doesn't buy a thing. You can have a lot of things that you've sold and have zero audience. But it's like, I would recommend doing a little bit of all of it, maybe even at first, and just see kind of what resonates with people to kind of guide you to see where you want to go. So for example, if there's a stash box, do you want to be more like, maybe you get more sales from the links that you've posted to your Amazon account, where it showed reviews of, the box being used, or how you can store things in it, or where you can store the box, that kind of thing. Or maybe you get more sales or even more views from, interviewing, people at Venice Beach just randomly. Maybe you get more views from posting products, and just mentioning the stash box and posting products that are related to, marijuana, or marijuana t-shirts, or marijuana dad hats, or whatever. And then maybe that's what you're actually kind of like talking about in your content. But then on the side, it's like, hey, you guys might actually be interested in this stash box as well. Trying to see what it is that the trends that you see coming up with what you're doing when you're starting, when you're selling things, when you're purchasing things to sell, when you're interacting with the sellers, when you're interacting with the buyers, when you're researching, your competition. Don't forget to research your competition, guys. I mean, see what the communities are saying on those competitors' sites. Look at the trends, look to see what they're posting. Try to see if you can find out what their best-selling items really are. Try and see how they market those items. You don't have to do like a whole copycat thing, but it's like, if you have a competitor that has a t-shirt site that's selling Doc Martens, and you have a similar t-shirt site and you don't have any Doc Martens, people might be looking at your site, and then they might say, hey, I was looking for some Doc Martens too, or something. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but, you know, like, just trying to look at the trends. And sometimes if you don't really know where to look, it can really help to look at those blasts from the past. Don't forget those things that you used to do when you first started. Don't forget to, really look at your, your competition, or, people in the same niche or the same genre as you. Don't forget to learn, don't forget to just observe. Sometimes taking a step back and just reading, I think it was Gary Vee who said, he reads, he doesn't watch the news, he doesn't watch TV, he reads Twitter, reads comments, just reading stuff about, trying to get the consumer's perspective, the viewer's perspective, the audience perspective on what they want to do and see. And then you'll know how to execute a plan that's going to work more effectively for your time and your money and your energy put into things. You're going to get more results, because it gets really disheartening when you don't get results. And it gets even more disheartening when you've put money into something and then the results don't come anytime soon. That's why I wouldn't recommend for people who are limited on funds to necessarily start with all the purchasing, because you're not really getting any of that dopamine, endorphin kind of motivation, because nothing's happening. You're not seeing any movement. You're seeing stuff coming out of your pocket. You're seeing the energy spent. You're not seeing the results. And what you want early on really is to see results. So really looking at those trends, even if it's old trends, if you have to go back to some old stuff that people still seem to be interested in, go back, go back to things that worked. Don't put too much energy into learning all the time. I'm not saying never learn, but it's good to plan and schedule out how much energy do you want to put into this part, how much energy do you want to put into another part. And then, learning about different methods of promoting your content, because it can help, to have various methods, just in case one of them works better for a different product, or one of them works better for a different, content base or type of topic. But yeah, guys, I hope this was helpful. It's pretty general. We're just starting out here, but I really do want to encourage you to look at your own history, look at your own trends, look at your own, things that you saw working in the past or things that you noticed worked in the past, because those things, sometimes they're tried and true. Sometimes, they're obsolete, outdated methods, and don't forget to just observe what you see happening around you. If you see that everybody's moving into doing another thing, that market's going to get saturated. It always does get saturated, but you might be at the forefront of it, making those profits. And that's kind of how I saw some of the stuff I was doing before, and that's why I mentioned all that long history, because I was like, I was doing this without even knowing what I was really doing. I was just having fun posting stuff. But even when I would look at it, I'd be like, oh, like this actually makes it so that I can actually get more people viewing the site. And, viewers can convert to other things. They can convert to subscriptions. They can convert to buyers. They can convert to students. They can convert to mentees. Whatever it is that you're doing, these things convert. But if nobody's looking at your stuff and nobody's coming across it, and you're not in somebody's face, not in an aggressive way, but if you're not out there in a way that people can easily find you, or if you're not going out to the people, it's gonna be real hard, guys. It's gonna be real hard. So yeah, you guys are gonna see a lot more of this content. I'm gonna be posting. I still got this weekend to do some stuff, so I'm really gonna try and put it out there and just get the ball rolling on some stuff. I'm starting to take my own advice on things too, so you guys might see me popping up with some new ideas and new stuff, and I'm trying to put some fire behind it and just kind of light it up in the next 2 weeks. And it's a small project, but I'm kind of trying to see what comes of it. But yeah, if you guys are gonna engage with this, I'm hoping you're along for the ride, because I think it's gonna be pretty fun. Yeah, I'm not sure what people want to hear or what they want to talk about or what they want to listen to, but I'm about to find out, right? Anyways, guys, thanks for listening here at Text to Cash. We're starting things off with a bang here. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Thanks for listening.